Join me every month for the inspiration to find your finish line. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Find Your Finish Line. I hope you're having a fantastic day out there. And thank you very much to all my listeners over the last 4 years. I really appreciate it. As you know, I don't put a podcast out every 3 or 4 days or sometimes a couple of months, if that. I really look at more quality than quantity over the years, and the type of guests I bring in bring that quality. And hopefully their stories will inspire you to be better, be a better human, be a better athlete, and to be able to find your finish line. My guest today is just that type of person. He did his first professional race back in 2014. And in that year, he set the run course record at 3 Ironmans. And I remember distinctly Ironman Chattanooga, where he won the race in 2014. And he ran a 2:47, prompted me to look at Tom Ziepart next to me and go, who the hell is this guy? That's actually what I did. He's a 6-time Ironman champion, 4 North America titles, still racing at a pro at 40 years old, tearing up the course, which he just did at Lake Placid, running at 2:41. He's out of Castle Rock, Colorado, the owner of MH Racing. Welcome, Dr. Matt Hanson, to Find Your Finish Line. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being on. And, I just saw, I always ask, the first question is, what kind of workout did you get in today? And I saw another podcast somewhere where the guys asked the same question. I think it was the Australian guy. And I'm going, wait a minute, I've been doing that for 4 years. Did they copy me? I know I didn't copy them. I hope they don't think I copied them. But no matter what kind of workout? Did you get one in today, or you got one?
Yeah, I've got 2 down, 1 to go. I got a swim in this morning, first thing. Pretty vanilla set, just some hundreds with alternating fast and easy. And then I did a track set right after that. And then I've got a second run here coming up after I record with you.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. There we go. So the other part of being able to talk to you is you have your degree in exercise physiology or science. That's where you got your degree. Uh, and did you really do that because, hey, I want to become an athlete? Is that why you got into that profession?
No, I really got here by accident. I was a college professor for a number of years. I was still teaching in 2014, and then I left the university in May of 2015 after I won Ironman Texas for the first time. But I fully thought I was on the 10-year track. I had gone through midpoint review, so basically all I had to do was put in the another year essentially, and would have had that kind of security for as long as I wanted it, and thought that was going to be my life from the time I entered college until the time I started winning a couple of races. Then things changed for me a little bit, and I decided that I needed to be able to look in the mirror and know at the end of the day, rather than look in the mirror and wonder what if. So after Ironman Texas in 2015, which was the first North American title, I decided that it was that time to make that switch to go all into triathlon.
Yeah, because after your first Ironman, it wasn't your goal. It was kind of a one and done thing. That's what you were thinking about.
Yeah, in 2011, I did my first Ironman in Coeur d'Alene, and I did it because it was on a list of 50 goals that I wrote when I was 16. And so when I had a 10-year timeline on that goal list. And so on year 9, I looked at it and was like, well, what can I still go after? And doing an Ironman was one of the final things that I could still go after. And so, yeah, I planned on just doing one and being done. I was finishing up my master's and starting my doctorate at the time, and ended up qualifying for Kona at Coeur d'Alene, and in Kona for the first time is really where I fell in love with the sport and thought I found my lifelong hobby.
And you met your wife Olivia through the sport because she raced. I know she did Roth.
Ashley Olivia's my daughter.
Okay. Oh, I'm
Ashley,
sorry.
yeah, no, no worries.
Yeah.
Ashley and I met in college, but she fell in love with the sport by coming with me to the tradition when you win is you come to the last hour and you hand out signature medals. And so
Yeah.
she came with me and watched me at our and watched the last hour at Ironman Texas. And that's when she decided that she wanted to get that experience and do an Ironman for herself. And so she did her first at Boulder. It was a close. We knew it was going to be close to
The
see if she could get the finish in time. And then yeah, she very similar to me. She kind of planned on being one and done, but fell in love with it and was doing one a year every year until she got pregnant with Olivia, and now she's getting back into it now that Olivia's 16 months, I guess now, and
oh, good.
yeah, and is
Good.
trying to get back into longer distance, but she's doing her first race back this weekend.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You ruined her. You brought her to a finish line the last 2 hours when we're down there just going
Yeah.
crazy, bringing everybody in, and you know how electric that is. So, and I've had so many people say to me afterwards, "Oh my God, that last 2 hours, that's the most amazing thing I ever saw." So, and here she finished Boulder in the last couple hours, so
Yeah.
she could experience the same thing. I
Exactly.
love that.
Exactly. She got the experience and definitely was hooked after that.
Well, Matt, it's funny when people reach age barriers, especially athletes. Oh my gosh, you're 30 now, or you're 40, or you're still racing DD Griesbauer. Oh, you're 50, you're still racing. It's like, and you always talk about those milestone birthdays, but I mean, you just cranked out and it's been well documented and talked about quite a bit lately. The 3 Ironmans in 5 weeks with Cans Roth and finishing it up with Lake Placid. Uh, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I guess the thought process was I planned on doing South Africa and I flew all the way over there and got sick. And so that didn't go as planned. And then Ironman Texas, I didn't really have the race that I wanted. And so with the Pro Series the way it is now, I wanted to try to erase that race, and that was a gamble with going to Lake Placid, was trying to get a better score than I had at Ironman Texas. I had committed to racing in Rote or at Challenge Roth, but way back in October, and I'm to me that was important to me that I fulfilled that commitment. Obviously, it was a race I've always wanted to do, but I wasn't willing to pull myself off the start line because another race went
Mhm.
bad, and there was some things that I wanted to try to accomplish there as well. And so I knew Lake Placid was a gamble, but I figured I really had nothing to lose going into there. If the race went well, then I got a better score. If it didn't, I still have Nice to try to yeah keep on improving and improving the overall score. I thought it was worth the risk. It didn't pay out, and I mean, I put a score on the board. So now, if I have mechanical and Nice or something like that, my pro series isn't over. But I didn't get the points I wanted out of it. But it wasn't like I had a bad race. It was just the leaders up front were fast. Matthew, just as he did in Cairns, had a fantastic day. We knew that was coming all along. He just had to yeah, put it together and the scary thing was is it was a far from perfect race from him, and he put out that performance.
You know, it just reminded me because what's amazing is over the years, I, like yourself, have seen athletes say finish fifth in a race or do well, top 10 in Kona, whatever it is. And you go, whoa, there's something about that person. If they put it together, and I've said the same thing, I go, oh my gosh, in 2, 3 years, they could win this race. They could win Kona. They could win Lake Placid, whatever it is. Isn't that amazing how you see that in somebody when you're involved in the sport and you can tell they got the talent to be able to one day put it together?
Yeah, he has a talent, but he also has the mindset, and that's really
Mm.
important as well. Some guys have a outstanding race, but you talk to them and you just don't get the sense that they have the grit that it takes to make the next step forward. And that's never been the case with Matt. ever since the first time I raced him, and he went off the front on the bike, no fear, and talking to him afterward, talking to his parents. So he's a good dude.
Good kid. Yeah. You are currently seventh in the Ironman Pro Series. Last year you finished fifth, which was a nice payday or a good deal. You pushed hard through the year. And so are you saying your next race is going to be Nice? You
Yep, yep. Next race will be
oh,
Nice.
okay.
Yep, I've
Okay.
got Nice and then 70.3 Worlds to round out the Pro Series. Yeah, I'm sitting seventh. Not exactly where I wanted to be at this point in the series, but Um, yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. You've got to be, especially this year, you've got to be pretty flawless at every race, and
Mhm.
I just wasn't. I'm happy with the points I got out of Cairns. Definitely wasn't happy with Texas, and so I'll have at least one Ironman that score that is subpar, and so. At this point, I'm hoping to be consistent enough in the last two races to hang in the top 10.
The hang in, yeah, that's good. It's interesting too when we talk about races and the schedule and all that good stuff. But with the what you just did with the three races in 5 weeks, what'd you learn about yourself?
Uh, I knew that it was going to be a big toll mentally, but
Mm.
I think I still took that for granted. Physically, things came around um, pretty well after Cans, after the first one, and I felt pretty good going into Challenge Rope, but things definitely lagged a little bit coming out of Challenge Road, and I had to force things a little bit more, and that just kind of drained the emotional battery. And I've always, when I as a coach, I talk to the athletes that I'm working with about a lot about having to have a full mental battery as well as physical battery when you go into a race, because it's going to get hard at some point, and you have to be able to push your mind to the point where it it can overturn what the body's telling you. And things got pretty tough in the last 10, 15K on the run in Lake Placid, and it's all uphill, and I didn't have the grit that I would have liked to have had, or have the ability to just kind of shut off the pain and push through it that I normally would have in that circumstance. So I think that was just there's a lot of good reminders about, yeah, the making sure that you're covering all the bases, not just the physical side of things.
Because you've had some back issues where being in that arrow position is kind of beating you up, and it's tough. But you still, even though you may have had a ride you didn't want to have time wise, you still get off the bike and like Roth, you came off in like 37th place and ran up to ninth place. So when you're running, your back doesn't tighten up or tie up because when I watch you run, you're flying, dude. And I'm going, wait a minute. His back must be okay on the bike and not, I mean, okay on the run, but not on the bike.
Yeah, so I've got a fracture in the in one of the lumbar vertebrae. It's
Mm.
called spondy, and so what really sets it off is crosswinds. And in Cairns, it was really windy that day, and so I really struggled on the bike. But for whatever reason, about a mile into every run, things just relax and settle down, and I've really not had much back issue. I think 2017 at Ironman Texas was the only time that I remember having to stop for a couple of seconds. I still was able to put together a good day, won the race, but I was lying flat on my back for about 15 seconds with a really bad back spasm about 2
Mhm.
miles in, and things settled down. I was able to get up and go and not think about it the rest of the day. So I've been fortunate enough that it loosens up early on in the run, but yeah, there's been days, especially at Kona, where putting any pressure on the pedals is really painful. And I think the last year the winds were probably the as best as they could have possibly have been, and that's why I was able to end up with my best finish there on the island so far.
Which by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was a great day. When I was running marathons, the goal was I had a coach in the last 10K, don't get past. Because if you know you get past in the last 10K, you're slowing down. Not everybody's speeding up, but it must just be such a mental a jack up for you to pass so many people on the run. Like, here's another one, here's another one, another pro, another pro. That's just got to give you a lot of juice.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the good thing about being a chaser rather than being chased is you constantly are getting that reinforcement, that positive reinforcement. And then, and of course, at Challenge Road, there's long straightaways. So I was 30 something off the bike, but I could see pretty far in front of me and how they were stacked up. And so every time I passed another one, I could see the next person. And then so it was just constantly, okay, one more, just go get the next one, just go get the next one. And then towards the last 10K, I lost it. There's more rolling hills and curves, whereas the first 30K is just long out and back. And so that's when it became a little bit more of the mental fight because I couldn't see the people in front of me. I was just relying on myself pushing on that internal motivation.
Internal motivation. Do you find yourself now that you're a dad of 16 months, the beautiful Olivia, eh, does that give you, I mean, something to shoot for? I've talked to so many pros that have become moms and dads, and life is different. Obviously, we all know that. But when you're racing, it's like I've got Olivia out there watching me. Does that give you something extra?
Yeah, for sure. I'm at Challenge Road. I was, yeah, it could have gone either way. I got off the bike in 35th, 37th, whatever it was, place, and I could have just felt bad for myself and either pulled the pin or just kind of went through the motions. And I ended up seeing Ash and Olivia. The only time I actually remember seeing them during the race was coming out of transition, and like it just kind of put me in a little bit better mindset and yeah, just centered things a little bit more. And I actually was talking to Cam after St. George 70.3, and I passed him right as we were going on to the second loop of the run, and right as we were going by his family, and to see his little boy going absolutely nuts for him and just losing his mind cheering for his dad, like that gave me a little bit extra of like, I want to hang on long enough so Olivia understands what I did or what I did for a living. And so I can get that feeling that I saw him have. And I messaged him afterwards. I said, dude, that was absolutely epic. And yeah, so it definitely is a little bit of a motivation to hang on a bit longer.
And I obviously over the years I've seen so much of that, pros and age groupers, where the little ones, and they could be 5, 7 years old now, 8 years, and they see mom or dad, and the look on their face. That's why my number one adage is actions speak louder than words. Your your kids are seeing what you're doing, and it's speaking volumes without even talking to them. So I know the feeling, you know the feeling, and it's pure. That's what it is. Wait, what was your very first triathlon you ever did? Did you do a sprint somewhere? What'd you do?
I did a local sprint just to go through the motions right before Coeur d'Alene, but it was I I didn't come to the sport until 2011, and so I did a couple, or yeah, I think it was a pool swim, and then
No way.
yeah, and then I went to Coeur d'Alene, very much naive to what the sport really was. Yeah. I actually at Coeur d'Alene, I finished the race and Croy won it that day and was sitting there, and I was completely ignorant. I had no idea who he was. I didn't follow the sport. I just, yeah, I knew that it was the guy that won. And he asked how the day went, and I said, I think it went fine. Yeah, I got my ticket to Kona, and it's like, well, what'd you run? And I said, like 3 flat for my first one. He's like, huh, you could really do something in this sport. And like, I'm sure he didn't think anything, like never thought about that again. But that stuck with me. And yeah, to have someone like that. And then he went and won Kona that year as well. And I remembered him telling me that. And so it just, yeah, gave me a little bit more of a, hey, this sport is kind of cool. And and that stuck with me on the flip side as well, that you never know when one comment to an age grouper might motivate them or might encourage them as well. And so, yeah, he was always a guy that I looked up to in the sport, and still a guy I look up to after the sport as well.
Crowley's he's a special person. But I'll bet you Crowley at every race that Matt Hanson's in going, all right, what's this dude gonna run today? He's what do you mean 230 something? You know. There's no doubt he's looking at that. By the way, we got something in common. I don't know if you know this because you we have a wrestling background.
Yeah,
Because
I
you
didn't realize he wrestled.
yeah, rest high school, college, yeah. I mean, it was like I moved out to San Diego after I graduated, and I weighed about 190. I had a neck like this, the whole deal, and then got hooked up with a guy who played a lot of racquetball. So I lost about 20 pounds doing that. I go, gosh, I lost some weight, but was still pumping iron. And then he says, we run every Wednesday night down at Balboa Park. Oh, I can run. I ran to cut weight, and as we did wrestling, and we did 6 miles, and I didn't walk for like 2 days after that. I found out what endurance was really all about. So, but
Yeah,
I've always every wrestler, Joe DeSena, a friend of mine who owns the Spartan races, his son's wrestlers, and he says wrestlers have the best mindset in the world because you're out there mano a mano, and nobody else can help you, and it's what built a lot of triathletes. Pro triathletes. They go, oh my gosh, I'm out here by myself, but I used to get my butt kicked on the mat too. So
yeah. Yeah, there's so many positive life lessons that I've taken from wrestling that have helped me in Ironman especially. On the flip side, I did have to unlearn one habit, and that's always killing yourself every single day and every single
every
second. Like, you had to learn to just, like, go and ride easy and just shut off and enjoy the ride, and just, yeah, go ride in the mountains, and you don't have to throttle yourself every day. And that was the biggest transition, struggle that I had early on in my career. I wanted to go hard every single day, and once I kind of learned to step back a little bit, then, yeah, I started making a lot more gains.
yeah. Could you imagine telling any of your wrestling coaches, by the way, coach, I need a rest day today?
Yeah, yeah.
They'd have thrown you out the room.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go spin my legs for 6
Uh,
hours at the mountains. Yeah.
yeah, 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 really. So in 2022, I remember the Ironman Des Moines. My gosh, that was a blistering warm day. That
It was.
that was just. I go, is this going to end? And it seems
And
like
I was saying the same thing.
as it got, before you finished and came in, and well, it just got worse after you finished. It's like, what's going on with this heat index? Anyway, that was the 20, but in 23, you didn't have any wins, and it was a tougher year. Did that beat you up mentally? How'd you handle that?
Yeah, I was definitely a tough year in 23. That was the only year that was the first year in my career that I didn't win a race up till that point. I was lucky enough to go down to Campeche right before the world shut down in 2020. So, and I won there, and so I had a win every single year until 23, and I was, yeah, I was forcing things. I was pressing, like, the beginning of the year didn't go well, and it just, I let it snowball a little bit. I wasn't having bad results, but I wasn't having that race that I really wanted and that I thought that I was capable of. But the end of 23, I was in Kona running alongside, Julie was there, sagging me. I went out, the women were racing that year. I went out to support my sister,
Mm.
who I coached, and so I was just out there as a spectator, and we were on a run, and the Ironman Pro Series was announced. While she got a text about it while sagging me on a 20-mile run, and she told me about it, and throughout the run, like, I can see my pace just get faster and faster and faster as it's hotter and hotter, but I'm just starting to get that itch and that excitement again. I really thought that the Pro Series was something that I could do really well in, and that I could, yeah, that I could chase, and so that really gave me a kick in the butt when I needed it, the most, I guess. It was yeah, with that announcement.
Good for you. Where do you think? I mean, that part of where your hunger came from. coming back. But where's your hunger today? Where's that come from? Was it your dad, a mentor? Was it mom? Was it where obviously you all have the hunger to win. You want to and be on that podium, but the hunger to train every day and put in the miles and make the commitment is really what it's all about.
Yeah, my dad has had a huge impact in my life growing up. I started running because of him. I wrestled because of him. When I was really little, as a kid, I would wait for him to come home from work, and then he would go with me or take me on his warm up as he would go out for a run, drop me off, and go finish his run. By third, fourth, fifth grade, we were doing the whole run together, and by sixth, seventh grade, I was dropping him off after my warm up and going and doing my own run. And so he kind of instilled the just the love of movement, but he also taught me how to set goals very early on. That was something that, um, as a small business owner, he used a lot and saw the value in doing so, and taught me how to do that. And that was something that I learned young and was able to incorporate throughout throughout my life. And that's been, really important, and it's why I am where I am today. If I didn't make that list of 50 goals when I was 16, I don't know that I ever
Uh,
caught the sport. I didn't know anybody who did the sport. I was living in small town Iowa at the time, and so it wasn't like I had ample training partners or anything like that. It was just something that, my 16-year-old self said, "Hey, I should do that. I saw this NBC special about Kona one time, and it looked fun." And so made a goal, and that's kind of what snowballed me to where I am now.
that's admirable at 16 years old. I don't know of a lot of 16-year-olds that did that, and that's great advice for the parents to have your kids sit down and put some goals down. I don't know if they need to put 50 of them down or how many you put down.
I was definitely getting stretched for the last number, and doing the Ironman was number 47 on the list, and
Was it really?
yeah, and it was, I think, number 48 was owning a house debt free at 25, and so that didn't happen. He said some of the goals on there were things that when you're 16, you might not really understand the world enough to make that long term of for the term of a goal, but I was definitely getting desperate to finish the assignment.
Good for you. But a debt free at 25 and owning a home, there's nothing wrong with that. That goal all of a sudden becomes 35 or even 45. A lot of 45-year-olds would love to be out there debt free with their home.
Yeah.
You know what? I still owe you. Yeah, you and Iron Man put together a video after I did Lake Placid last year, going back for their 25th anniversary, how you were ribbing me for not really retiring. You knew I was going to come back. And you were sitting at the table so nonchalantly, like I knew it. I knew he wasn't gonna. I knew it. And I got so many calls and text after that, like, "Oh, what's your next race, Mike? Matt said this, Matt said this." I'm gonna kill the guy.
Yeah, the Iron Man team definitely did a good job putting that little
They
clip
did.
together. It was, definitely an off the cuff comment, and but I do remember sitting in Kona
That's
when
what it was.
we
Yeah.
kind of got the deserved ovation for at the pro meeting, and like I don't know. I think he'll be back for a couple more. It'll be a special. He'll be back, and yeah,
Oh gosh, yeah, you never know. Hey, you still I saw that you like the fish. You still go up to northern Minnesota to off feed the fish. Do you still get it
I
daily?
wish I could get there more. That's I'm a Minnesota boy.
Yeah.
I yeah, that's my favorite place in the world is to go up to the Boundary Waters. I've only been able to do it a couple of times.
Mm.
I did after Lake Placid. I took a week off. Mostly I was just catching up on the honey-do list at home. But I did take a day and go up to, the national park and try fly fishing for the first time, which
Oh, good.
I was good at, snagging and, creating some knots in the lines, but I caught a few fish at least.
Good. Yeah. I went fly fishing in Ironman New Zealand. Somebody took me out there and it took a little while, but once you get the hang of it, you go,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful.
Definitely a peaceful thing, and hopefully a hobby I can pick up, in a few
Some more
years.
than that. Yeah, exactly. over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen finishing times on both the men and women's side. Sometimes I remember a lot of times I'd be at the award ceremony, I'd read out age groupers' times and go, "What do you mean this 50-year-old went this fast?"
Yeah.
But now on the pro side, you just start seeing barriers come down, come down, come down. What do you have any idea of what you attribute that to?
I think a couple of things. One, the biggest thing is the maturity of the sport. We're still pretty young. And
Yeah.
if you look at us versus running, us versus cycling, us versus swimming, like our training in just 5 years ago was treating us as a swimmer, treating us as a biker, and treating us as a runner. And now we're being coached as triathletes, or we're putting together programs specifically for triathletes. So I think that's one big part of it. The aerodynamics from that cycling has had have been trickling in. And so people are paying more attention to the aerodynamics and then training themselves to run well off of that. The amount of carbs that we're taking in an hour is significantly changing thing. Obviously, the super shoes are making things
Yeah.
a little bit better. Not only um, going faster on the day, but by using them during one session a week, where the hardest session of the week, for example, we're able to recover a little bit faster, so we can do a little bit more in training. We're getting smarter about nutrition, recovery wise, all those things. Everything adds up. But I often think about the 4 minute mile barrier, and it was a race, and people wanted to get to that barrier. And as soon as it happened, right after it happened five more times very shortly after. And so I think there's another mental component as well. Like you see it happened, and then, okay, well, that's possible. Now what's the next barrier? And so once it's been shown to be possible, then that's the new standard, and everybody starts training themselves to that standard.
Exactly. And I recall when Crowe, I think it was his second win in Kona, he got off the bike and I was standing at the end of the T2, calling him out onto the run. And I could not believe how fast he was turning his legs over before he even made the turn to go up. I go, What the heck's he thinking? It looks like he's running an 800-meter race."
Yeah.
And it was the first time I go, whoa, he must be doing something in training to get off that bike and to turn him over. 'Cause a lot of times guys just slogging along, in the past years, and finally they get going. But he turned it over and he kind of changed the game on that bike to run transition. And then others started doing it.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that was a huge leap forward. But if you compare times today to the time that his record time,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, yeah, crazy how much quicker things have become.
Did you have any through the early part of your career when you started figuring out, since you didn't know who Crowe was back in Coeur d'Alene, when you started figuring out the sport, did you look up any pros and said, "Boy, it's not like you'll want to be like them, but I got to figure out what that person's doing because I'm really respecting that."
Croby's was always somebody that I admired, and also just the style of racing. He
Mhm.
was a runner, and obviously he was a front pack swimmer and a good biker, but he made his name winning earlier on by winning on the run. And
Mhm.
so that was something that I guess I related to a little bit. There are people though, so on the sports side of it in triathlon, it was always him. I didn't know him much as a person until the last couple of years. And so earlier on in my career, there are other guys that on the business side I looked at. I looked at how they carried themselves as a
Mhm.
professional. I looked at how they had balance between family and life, and then how they use the sport to create their future. And I definitely took some nuggets from people that maybe weren't always the best winning world championships, but they had made a long-term career in a sport that we don't have a long-term runway in. And that's what I've been trying to do with my coaching business, and a couple other irons in the fire for later on down the road.
I was just going to bring up your coaching business and put something in me. Were you coached at all earlier in your career, or did you self coach? What would you?
I self-coached until I made the switch to pro. and then I started working with a coach who lived down in Texas at the time. I worked with him for 2.5 years, I think,
Uh-huh.
and then I switched to Julie Dibbins in 2016 and worked with Julie for quite a long time, and then recently just made the switch to go back to working on my own.
Oh, okay. Okay. Uh, so coaching obviously just seems to me like a natural progression for you. But a lot of pro athletes do the career thing, kind of get out of it, and then, okay, let's start coaching. But you're doing it now while you're still racing. Uh, but it's got to be very satisfying for you to see what some of your athletes are able to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely. It was something that I started very early on. I started the coaching business, my own coaching business in 20 end of 2014, and then have just slowly let it naturally grow as it went. And it's a lot of fun. It's what I like. I studied the human body in school and how it adapts to exercise. That's what I love to learn about, and so it's fun for me to be able to use that part of my brain both as a coach and as some of the work that I do with some of my sponsors and partners as well. And yeah, it's always fun on multiple loop courses to see the name on a kit that you're going by, or people that yeah, that you helped had a small part of getting to their, their success, helping them find their finish line. And definitely something that I look forward to, meeting the or seeing the people that I've been working with, or that my assistant coaches have been working with on the race course. And um, definitely look forward to helping more and more people in the future.
It's got to be pretty cool. And I'm thinking of Challenge Roth, where we've got you're running the last on the run, and you're seeing MH3. You're seeing one of your athletes come by. That guy, oh, there's so and so. There's so and so. Do you do you notice them? Wave to them. Hello, kick ass. Do it.
A lot of times I do challenge route. I was in a different world on the run.
Yeah.
I was that was one of the times where, yeah, when the times that I've had my absolute best runs, I don't remember much from the run. I'm in the like, yeah, I wish I could explain the experience, but I certainly remember the pain the last a couple of K, and the fear that I had that I was going to blow it at the end if, because I was hurting a little bit. But other than that, after seeing my kid, or my wife and kid early on, I kind of locked in and, yeah, shut everything else out.
No, that's what great champions do. We've got a lot of age groupers out there that are first year age groupers. So many of them do their first triathlon, first Ironman, whatever it is, first challenge race. What kind of advice would you give to our age groupers out there? They have so many things that they can look at online and everything, but I think when they hear from someone like you who's been in the game and pushed hard and done the right things, what kind of advice would you be able to give our age groupers?
My go-to for this is know your why. Know why making this journey is important to you. Know why the finish line is important to you. That's what's going to fuel you during the early morning wake ups, or the early to bed nights, that or the sacrifices that you have to make. And it's going to be what you dwell on when things get hard on race day. They'll always get hard during the race. It's a long day. But yeah, the recent races will show you that even if something goes wrong, or you
Mhm.
get some adversity during the race, it doesn't mean your day's over. You can still go and accomplish something. And um, knowing why this is important to you is I guess what I dwell on to help me push through those times when I don't feel like getting in the pool, or I don't feel like the day is going well. And it'd be much easier to just stay in transition. And yeah, focusing on
Yeah.
that is definitely important for me. And I think that it can help a lot of people if they know their purpose.
I always like to use the analogy as when you mentioned, things can go wrong during the day, but stick with it and you'll come out to the other side. The analogy with baseball, a guy could come to the plate, strike out four times, and then the bottom of the ninth hit a home run and win the game. You've got to stick with it, and That's what long distance racing's all about, because you go through such bad patches, but there is another side to that, and then you come out the other side, uh, which you have quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
Stay present, stay focused, and always focus on what can still go right for the rest of the day, not what went wrong in the past.
oh, I love that. Stay focused on what is going to go right. That's good. My last question comes out of the Baja 1000. I've got friends that race down to the Baja in their trophy trucks. I've sat in the second seat for 1,000 miles, and you talk about insane.
Yep.
But afterwards, they get together and they call it table racing, where they reminisce about the race. They sit around, all that good stuff. I call this tri-table racing. So reminisce with us about something that happened in an event. Could have been your first one, the last one, wherever it was, and just think what comes to your mind on reminiscing with us of a tidbit from a race.
So the most memorable moment that I've had was Kona in 2013 was my last age group race. And I went there with the intent of winning the age group or winning the amateur division. And I was descending from Javi and I got a front and a rear flat at the same time. So I hit something both, and I had two tires or two tubes with me. Got them both changed, but I must not have got whatever was in the back tire out, and I got a third flat by the bottom. And so I sat there for nearly 20-25 minutes waiting for a tube from the tech. And obviously my chance of winning the race was gone. But so I had a pity party for a little bit on the way back in to town, and on the bike I got um to the airport and like, okay, that's done. It's over with. Just go do something on the run. Find a way to do something on the run. And I think I ran a 250 low as an age grouper run, and um, I finished in the top 10. Didn't get my goal, but that showed me a lot of what was possible. And I made the decision as soon as I crossed the finish line to take my pro card. I wasn't going to do it. I made the decision to take my pro card because if I did that, I could go race Arizona in a few weeks, and if I didn't, I would have to wait until Ironman Texas the next year
Mhm.
because the age group was sold out for Arizona. So I took my pro card because of those three flats.
Oh my gosh, I never knew that. So just think, if you hadn't have had that third flat, Matt, you probably gone into. You think you'd still be racing age group of them then next year? You,
I mean, I
uh,
yeah, that was the intent at the time. I thought I had my hobby. I was on the 10-year
hobby.
vet, and I really thought that that was going to be just what I did for fun. And that run showed me what was possible. And then I went to Arizona. I think I finished 18th, but I broke 250 on the run. And
Mm.
so I was on cloud nine. So there's 50 guys there and I wasn't last. And like, oh, maybe I do belong in this pro field. And I thought that when I made the decision to go pro, I'm like, I might never get to race Kona again. And then in 2014, I got my first paycheck early on and like, huh, never expected that. And then I won my first Ironman at Chattanooga. I'm like, huh, okay. And then the goals just started getting harder and harder and harder and more fun to chase.
Yeah, more and more fun to chase. That's well. Thanks for sharing that story. That was fantastic. I just never knew that. Matt, how do people contact you or contact you about your coaching services and things like that?
Yeah, I try to make it easy. Everything's Matt at matthansentry.com or Matt at matthansonracing.com for emails. And social handlers are Matt Hanson Try and Matt Hanson Racing. And yeah, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Well, Matt, enjoy the little bit of time off that you'll be cranking back up for Nice,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And we're going to be watching. And I thank you for being on the podcast. I know those 3 races in 5 weeks beat you up a little bit, but I can tell by your demeanor and your attitude and your smile that you're back. You're back home with the family, and life is moving forward the way you want it to. So thank you very much for being on Find Your Finish Line.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. And thank you everybody again for listening in. And as I always say, remember, you're the cause of your own experiences. And if you keep those experiences around you positive, you will always find your finish line. Take care, everybody. Stay safe out there on the roads. And my warmest aloha.